The Lewis Hamilton-Mercedes breakup is getting ugly, and the seven-time world champion is now resorting to psychological tactics to get his way. His technique? Playing the neglected driver card. Here's how he's doing it. Lewis Hamilton has been engaging in a subtle psychological battle with his teammate George Russell. This comes after Hamilton's self-critique post the Canadian Grand Prix, where he finished fourth behind Russell, who had clinched pole position. Hamilton took responsibility for a tough race in Canada, possibly as a strategic move in his mind game with George Russell. But Russell's late overtake of his respected teammate could be the underlying reason behind Hamilton labelling it as one of his worst races. Tom Clarkson suggests that Hamilton's admission of his subpar performance could have been a tactic to keep a psychological advantage over Russell. By portraying the race as one of his worst, Hamilton subtly indicated that Russell's successful overtaking was a result of Hamilton's own performance, rather than Russell's skills or strategy being superior. While talking about the incident on the F1 Nation podcast, Clarkson said, Lewis Hamilton was buoyed by knowing that he would have the front wing on his car, which he hadn't run in Monaco. He was buoyed, very quick in practice. It slipped away in qualifying. He said after the race that he didn't drive a great race. His co-host Natalie Pinkham then said, he actually said it was one of his worst races for a very long time. Talk about self-chastisement and the blame game, very publicly shouldering the responsibility of that. Was it that bad of a race? Clarkson then told Pinkham of his interpretation of Hamilton's post-race comments, saying, no, but was it partly because George had overtaken him, and he wanted to get the message out, George, you only overtake me when I'm having a really rubbish race. That's how I read that. He doesn't have anything to prove. Yet on Saturday after qualifying, he was saying, I don't understand why the performance of my car drops away in qualifying. 2 weeks earlier in Monaco, the same guy said, I don't think I will outqualify Russell this year. But could it be that this isn't an elaborate plan on Lewis Hamilton's part? Could it be that he is simply washed? Liam Lawson, one of the younger drivers in the sport, talked about the difference between F1's last two champions. When he was told that Max Verstappen is rated higher than Lewis Hamilton, he told TalkSport, I think it's fair, to be honest, I think it's fair. I think Max right now is in a very, very strong run of form. Not that Lewis isn't, I fully believe that he's still obviously very, very competitive. But I don't know. It's really hard to tell because in Formula One you can only compare to your teammates. Toto Wolff, coming to George Russell's defence, is putting an end to Hamilton's poor boy psychological tactics. He has advised his Mercedes drivers, especially the seven-time world champion, not to sulk and allow negative sentiments to dominate following the Canadian Grand Prix, where he praised a certain aspect of Lewis Hamilton's performance as galactical. Even George Russell acknowledged his mistakes. But Wolff has encouraged his drivers to concentrate on the positives, emphasising Hamilton's impressive pace during Saturday morning's session. I think when you finish third and fourth from where we have been coming from, then it is a positive race, Wolff told media. Third and fourth is so much better than we had previously in the last few races, so that is good, but I think both drivers saw that there was more up for grabs. We could have gained a position or two, and that is why there is a kind of negative sentiment. But if you would have given them third and fourth before the weekend, they probably would have taken it. I mean, in FP3, Lewis put up a lap that was out of this world, and then his long run was stratospheric, galactical. Since George Russell's arrival, Mercedes' position in the championship has seen a decline. The start of the 2024 season has been disappointing for the team, casting doubts on their chances of finishing strongly in Brackley. Additionally, Russell's consistent outperformance of his seven-time world champion teammate has fueled speculation that Mercedes' decision to hire Russell in 2022 has negatively impacted Hamilton's career. Mercedes brought George Russell on board in 2022, shortly after Lewis Hamilton's controversial loss at the 2021 Abu Dhabi GP. This move coincided with a pivotal moment for Mercedes in the ground effect era of Formula One. In his debut year with the team, Russell outperformed his teammate, adding to the challenges for the 39-year-old driver in his quest for more world championships in F1. Peter Windsor was quick to criticise Mercedes' mistake. The commentator argued that Toto Wolff's decision to sign George Russell in 2022 was a deliberate move to hinder Lewis Hamilton's career. Russell had been one of Hamilton's strongest teammates, contributing to victories and positive outcomes. But the choice to bring in the 26-year-old driver ultimately contributed to Mercedes' struggles during the ground effect era. While speaking on the Cameron F1 podcast, Windsor said, well, I think Wolff sabotaged Lewis's efforts when he signed George Russell instead of Valtteri Bottas. Mercedes did not try their best for Lewis Hamilton after 2021 Abu Dhabi debacle. Peter Windsor also criticised Mercedes and Toto Wolff for their inability to secure the 2021 championship for Lewis Hamilton. According to the Australian F1 expert, the Silver Arrows could have performed better after the 39-year-old lost the title on the final lap in Abu Dhabi. In my opinion, I think Mercedes could have gone a lot further after Abu Dhabi 21 to try and get that 2021 crown sorted, he said. Despite all the sabotage accusations floating around, George Russell is feeling good about the progress at Mercedes, despite facing intense scrutiny in recent years. He hopes that the competitive environment will persist with the new 2026 regulations. Since the onset of Formula One's ground effect era in 2022, Mercedes has only secured one victory. But their strong showing in the recent Canadian Grand Prix, where Russell was in contention for the win, signifies a huge improvement for the Brackley team. Acknowledging the end of Mercedes' dominant streak with 8 consecutive constructors' titles under the ground effect regulations, Russell admitted that Mercedes has faced scrutiny during this challenging period. Yet he also pointed out that every team, except Red Bull, has encountered its share of difficulties along the way. He told the media before the Canadian Grand Prix, "If I'm being honest, I think there's been a lot of scrutiny upon the team in these 3 years. I think everybody's had some challenges along the way. Take Red Bull out of the equation, who have found themselves on a great path and been able to do it. But we've all found ourselves in catch-up mode. Ferrari were well ahead of us in 2022. They fell behind us in 23 and now they're just ahead, but they're still not fighting for the championship right now. And McLaren had a tough couple of years. Now they're back at the front where they were 15 years ago. So as I said, there was a lot of scrutiny on Mercedes about the relative failure that we've had. But this is Formula One, it's bloody challenging. And there's so many great teams and designers up and down this field. I think we are making progress, but it just never happens overnight. And we saw that during the Mercedes dominance, that these teams behind, Ferrari, Red Bull, they could never just turn it up. Red Bull, how many years before they fought Mercedes for the championship? So I think that's just the sport, and I hope 2026, it's not as variable, because as drivers, you all want kind of an equal opportunity to showcase your abilities and battle it out on track. Toto Wolff characterised their approach as zigzagging over the years regarding upgrades leading to false dawns. All attention is now on the Spanish Grand Prix following Mercedes' breakthrough performance in the Canadian GP. Russell noted that Mercedes' zigzags have stabilised in recent years, with the team realising that small changes can yield big performance gains. I think those zigzags have maybe reduced in magnitude over these years, he said. So when we first got the car in 2022, we probably made a big change. Realised we got it wrong, we went in a big change in the other direction, and it's slowly filtering down to more incremental changes. And I think we recognise small changes can bring big performance. Everybody is moving forward, and that's the impressive thing with Formula One. And let's hope that is the case, because it will be great if you have 4 teams at the front battling it out in the future. With the evidence laid out, Lewis Hamilton is engaging in psychological warfare against George Russell and Mercedes. Tell us what you think in the comments section down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.